Welcome back to the Kicks and Picks podcast, everybody. We are back, Nick and I, to start the show. Scotty will be joining us later. That's because we're featuring Serie A to open things up, and we have two guests tonight. We have Nick, formerly known as Average Chiesa Enjoyer, now just the Average Juve Enjoyer. And then Jerry Mancini is back. Calcio Connection is back, and he is here to represent himself and Alex. We have a big weekend of Serie A action. Kicks off Friday, Inter Atalanta. Saturday, Milan and Lazio. Sunday, Roma and Juve. So buckle up. It is going to be a busy weekend for Calcio fans, and we have two guys here to talk with us about those matches. So, guys, how you doing tonight?
Fantastic. One word.
Same here. We're doing very well.
Man, I don't know who's happy, who's depressed out of the group here. Jerry, we'll get into it, but we have our squad that gave us some hope for, 90 minutes, took it right away from us. And then Nick, we got your squad who's cruising, only team so far with 6 points through 2 rounds, but end of an era. End of an era for you on Twitter, end of an era for the team. It's all happening.
You know what? Sometimes you need to rebrand. Am I happy that thing has Chiesa just left for Liverpool? Not particularly, but I'm not going to lie. The start of this season has definitely helped, make it an easier pill to swallow, including the recruitments on the wings as well. So right now, it's very hard to be upset, to be honest. Obviously, a very long season to go, but at the current moment, there's very little to be disappointed as a Juve fan.
Well, you also did beat Como and Verona, so you have to beat those opponents to win a Scudetto.
That's what Juve does well.
But I don't want to take it too far because it is a new team when you look on paper, and it's very being put together. So I think as bad as Roma has been in the first 2 games, playing higher level competition can always push a team back in the right direction. And as dumb as it sounds, because of how poor Roma has played, I think that Sunday will be a big test for Juve. I know we're going to talk about it later, but I think it's going to be I think Juve has to be well aware. Like, they can't just go with their guard down for that game.
100%. And so a couple of things. For one, absolutely. But I do think, again, I don't know him personally, but from what I have heard, like from Motta, even after the Como game, like right away after the game in the press conference, he said the next goal is, Hellas Verona. I know that he's already said that the squad is already focused and ready for Roma, and that it's going to be a beautiful game at the Allianz. They definitely can't take them lightly, 100%. I do think that it is going to be a tougher game. But I just feel like it's not just the squad and who they have played, which, although I do agree, obviously it's not, the top tier competition within the league. I think it's just more like a statement of how they're playing. I did do some research kind of before this, because I did feel like that's a point that I have been hearing a lot. 2 seasons ago, we lost both games to Monza, so we took 0 for 6 points. The season before that, the season after, in the very last season, we lost multiple games to Empoli and other teams like that. So you know what, for the last couple of seasons, I will take any wins that we get for sure. And I do just definitely think it is just an identity. They just, even at 3-0 up, they looked like they were continuing to attack, even at 2-0 up, versus maybe with past managers we would have kind of sat back, really just held on. And we don't have the personnel like that in defense anymore. We don't have, the prime Buffon, Barzagli, Chiellini, Bonucci. We don't have that system. So it's very hard to still play that way, which I do feel like that is why we didn't have as much success in Allegri's second stint. But yeah, I definitely think that the game will be a little bit more of a challenge. But at home, on really high morale, I know we're still going to get into it, but I feel pretty confident for that game for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Roma hasn't done much to inspire so far. I can say that.
Nobody has.
Not many teams have, right? I mean, Juve's been the best of the bunch so far. The teams they've played haven't been the stoutest competition, but neither have the teams that Roma's played or Milan's played or some of the other, bigger teams have played. So I think early season, Roma's still trying to kind of get their squad to gel, right? Which I think a lot of the bigger sides are, and Juve's done the best job of it so far. So that'll be interesting on Sunday. I think we should start, though, just because it's the first match of the weekend, Inter and Atalanta. This is a very interesting one because Atalanta came out flying against Lecce on match day one. We had a couple bets in on them last weekend against Torino, and they didn't come through with what we wanted. We had one bet that we put in after we had recorded, and was them to score in the first half. You point out right before kickoff, and that hit for us. And we thought our team total lock was going to be a lock at that point, and it didn't happen for them. Meanwhile, Inter, slow start the first weekend, did not get that result to open the season, and last weekend they kind of just turned it back around now against Lecce. Poor Lecce has been beaten by both these squads after Genoa nearly took all 3 points off of Inter. So, guys, we've talked about it a couple weeks ago when we had Matt Santangelo on here. Inter, the favorites, the betting favorites. I think on paper they're the favorites. I know Juve now has made a couple big moves in recent days that maybe shakes things up a little bit. But how do you see this one? And Atalanta, who looked like maybe all of a sudden was looking like a top four kind of like favorite.
Lock.
Lock is kind of not on the, same trajectory as we thought they were maybe 2 weeks ago. I know it's only one match, but it kind of takes a little wind out of their sails. How do you see this one playing out? It is at the San Siro, so tough one for Atalanta.
Go ahead, Nick.
I think it's gonna be a great game. Kind of like how you said, I definitely feel like Atalanta was, looking like they were gonna steamroll a lot of teams this season. Maybe not directly win the league, but they looked like a really fierce competition. Their recruitment has been fantastic, kind of like with Bellanova coming in with a bunch of other players. Sam Rizdic, I think, is a fantastic signing. Finally, his dad let him go somewhere. But I think that they do have a very good team. Last week was a little bit of a disappointment. I was able to catch that whole game. And to be quite honest, Torino had a lot of chances. It probably could have been a little bit worse, to be honest, than just simply the result that it was. I don't know, because in all honesty, even with all the hype right now, and I know we're going to get into that regarding Juventus later, but I would still probably say that Inter is still obviously the bookie favorite, and I definitely think that right now they still are the slight favorite for the Scudetto. I think that game will be tough, and I think it will be a great game. Probably will say that Inter will edge it for sure. I feel like Lautaro hasn't really started up his season well enough yet, and I feel like eventually it's just going to be a certain amount of time before he does kind of, start off and go off. Thuram's looked, quite good in most games. I know last game he didn't score, but the game before, I believe he scored the brace. So I don't know. They have a very strong team all over the pitch. I definitely think that there is a slight, advantage for Inter. I do think that they probably will win that game, but I don't think it'll be any sort of blowout. Probably like a 2-1 win or something like that.
And I know he didn't start the last game. Did he start the first game, Lautaro, or was he hurt?
I believe he did start.
He played the first game. Okay.
Yeah.
Thuram was the one who pretty much looked good both games.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think the problem here now is that the recurring issue is that these guys are they're already tired before the season even started. So these top teams all have the best players in the world, right? And where do the best players play? They play in the Euros, they play in the World Cup, they play in all these big tournaments. So you're not going to see a young player be called up while a star player is going to be at home being able to rest prior to the season restarts, because now the international break's coming up. These guys are just playing too much football. And look, Lautaro lasted a game. And in the first game he played, he didn't even look that good. He looked so tired. He looked fatigued. And that's a contribution to the fact that he's not getting a proper summer off. Like, you cannot be playing World Cup, go into your season, and then on top of that, you're not just playing Serie A. You're playing Coppa Italia. You're playing Euros or Champions League, and then you're progressing the whole way. And these teams, just like the national team, are relying on the same players that always play. So when you see Juventus playing, you see Inter playing, the best players are always playing. But the problem is those best players get called up because they're the ones who are going to be relied upon to play for their national team. So, and I think this can be an issue this season because the short gap from the World Cup, the Copa America into the league, it was a short period. And I see that a lot of teams are just not to par, the top 7 teams. Like Fiorentina struggling. You got Roma, who looks like they came out of a freaking shit cannon and can't do anything right now. Like Lazio's in a whole different world, but I don't know. And then I'll add something else on top of this. The transfer market has to be closed prior to the season starting. Like, it doesn't make sense to bring in players after the second game. I think there has to be, like, first game you go, why are you playing players that have no part of your team in 2 weeks? I've seen so many teams in the league playing players that may not even have a place in the club after the transfer market. So what's the point of risking an injury where the guy can't get sold? And he's not even part of your tactics. So you're not really developing that identity for your team to move forward. Like I saw on Saturday, Husai come in for Lazio. Like, why is this guy coming on when he's on the transfer market list? Like, you just don't play a role right now. Unless you're still with the team after the third week, I can understand that. It is what it is. You're there. But, like, the transfer market has to be fixed. And I think that they actually discussed it today. It was in the news that Gravina has actually opened up and has discussed that he would like to have the transfer market done week prior to like all the leagues starting. So I think that's the biggest issue because teams are not getting enough time to actually incorporate their players and into the system because you just see everyone's all to create a team in football is not overnight. Like there is a system and everyone has to know their position. There's a philosophy, there's tactics behind it. You can't just go sign a guy. Yeah. Like all these guys that Juventus are signing right now, Koop Meiners is going to have, if he has a bad game on the weekend, just say hypothetically, okay? It's not his fault because he's coming from Atalanta who play a 3-5-2, who play Gasparini football. You're going into Motta. I don't know the formation he plays, to be honest. I don't think
he knows.
I think only he knows. I don't think anyone else absolutely knows for sure.
Well, Motta plays, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I'm just saying, you're incorporating this guy now in the third week, and he doesn't know how certain players play. So that kind of it's a dysfunction. You know what I mean? Like, so I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about.
I agree with that point. The thing, and you're seeing that with every team, right? We could talk about Atalanta in a second because I think they probably had more turnover than most, right? Maybe Juve did too. You look at this Inter team; it's the same lineup as last year. Taremi is pretty much the only guy that's gotten in there, and and he's a forward. What are your tactics, right? He's a forward. Yeah, but even Bisek, he was on the team last year.
No, for sure.
It's pretty much the same. I worry about Inter a little bit because they're not young. I said this with Jerry last week. Listen, goalkeeper's different, but Sommer's 35, 36. Still a good player, but we saw that week one, made a couple mistakes, cost them points. That midfield, they're old, man. Mkhitaryan, Çalhanoğlu. Still got my man on the wing. Why can't I think of his name?
Darmian.
Darmian's 1,000 years old, right? So I don't know. I mean, they got to start rotating, and I don't know why they didn't do it the first couple games. I mean, 4 points through 2 games, okay, but I don't know. To Jerry's point, fatigue is a massive issue. Yeah. It's a bigger issue when your team's a little bit older, when most of your starters are 30. So that's kind of my outlook on Inter. Obviously, I still think they're the favorites, big favorites in this game. But that's definitely something for concern. And I love Inzaghi, and I'm sure Jerry does as well. He's a little stubborn. He hasn't really improved on that rotation thing. We can say that about a lot of managers, but Inzaghi sticks to his guys. So I'm interested to see what they do in this game against Atalanta. I'm interested to see what they do the next 4 or 5 games because you're going to have to start rotating. You have to.
I think most of their lineup will be the exact same, to be quite honest with you.
Right.
I think like the only differences you'll see is maybe like Bisek will play because I don't believe he started last game. But they're still going to play Dumfries. They're still going to play DeMarco. They're still going to be stubborn and play Mkhitaryan in midfield, despite the fact they have Fertezi that's just chilling on the bench. like most of their players are going to be pretty much like at least 8 out of 11 are going to be the exact same. Like for sure.
Yeah. I mean, they're kind of like that team that they're going status quo because of the financial issues, right? So it's like sign a couple free agents, don't throw any transfer fees out there, sign Zelensky and Taremi, and they're hoping that it's enough to get them over the line again. And before some of these other teams made big moves, I think it seemed like it was plenty. Even the lines reflected it, right? When we did our preview episode about 2 weeks ago. Now, like I said, Juve's come out flying. Like if Juve comes out flying again against Roma and puts 3 more points on the board and they go into the international break with 9, and then they have time to integrate Coop Miners and Gonzalez and anybody else that they bring in. Like all of a sudden, I don't know if the futures have moved much yet, but like
Juve's plus 250.
Yeah,
they were plus 500-600 before the start of the season. That's a big move in 2 weeks.
If I'm an Inter fan and we don't get a positive result against Atalanta, it kind of gets you a little nervous, I think. I mean, I know it's still only a couple weeks into the season, but like you said, age, competing in Champions League, doing all those things. I know Mota's, got to integrate players and integrate his system fully, but I definitely think there's a little bit something to it. And, I wouldn't be like 100% confident even at home against Atalanta, who's plus 370 this week.
I can't remember a season where like there was so much overreaction after 2 games from everybody, right? I'm guilty of it.
Yeah,
Nick's guilty of it. The league is guilty of it.
Before I forget, doesn't Mota have that face you just want to punch so hard?
I can't relate, to be honest. I'm not even just saying it. I'm not even just saying it just because
he has that face you just want to punch.
But
so
even
hard,
like when you use like an Inter player and like there's that picture of him and like Del Piero's face, like I don't really have we can talk about this at different times. It's irrelevant. But I have like 5 players in European football right now that I would just love to punch in the face, but they're like 90% of them aren't even in Serie A. They're just random leagues. So that's a different. I don't know. I don't think so. Like and like even I don't know.
He's a traitor.
Sorry,
he's a traitor.
Mota,
Mota is a traitor.
Then I need to hear it for Conte as well. I need to hear that he's a traitor
for everybody, man. It's football.
Yeah,
I love Conte. Anybody who hates Conte needs to get a reality check. That guy there.
Then you can't call him a traitor. Then you can't call. How is he not a traitor?
You're gonna go coach wherever you get the opportunity. When you're an up and coming manager, you're gonna go wherever they give you the opportunity.
Steve can say that because Steve's team just hires mercenaries.
And he didn't go to Inter. He didn't manage Inter and then come to Juve. He went from Bologna, man. Like we can say what we want. Like he's not exactly like God, he went to an arch rival. Like
I don't care about Mota leaving. I'm just talking shit when he's a snake. Oh yeah, Conte. Sorry, Mota. I don't care. I just like because I know that Nick love Mota not anymore. But with Conte, yeah, he's the biggest snake. That's why I love him because like he went from like Juve to Inter. He was with Chelsea, left Chelsea, and where did he go? Went to Tottenham.
He's just the Italian Mourinho.
He doesn't care, man.
I was gonna say he's becoming Italian Mourinho.
His best days are behind him for sure.
But I do love him, man. Like I know it's like sacrilegious because it's like, oh, dude, like he went to like won with your arch rival and all that. But like that guy wins pretty much anywhere except Spurs, which is like a cursed team. Like they are just not gonna win something that's real, other than like an Audi Cup for like. They haven't won something huge in years and years and years, right? And to be honest, I don't think he's going to win anything at Napoli. But, like, even that, like, people are like...
league, though, man.
I don't know, man. I know that's not on today's discussion, but I really do not buy into Napoli hype, like, at all. Like, I don't really care about who they're signing. I don't really care. Because I know that he does get the best out of players. But, like... And I know me and Nick talked about this the other day, but dude, like Scott McTominay is horrific at football.
Now you're bugging.
That guy is terrible.
He's good. Underrated.
Do you know
underrated
what
player?
He comes on, and yeah, you know what? Maybe he'll get a goal. And like, you know what? Obviously, that's the point of the sport. But like, when he plays midfield, man, passing, tackles, build, and everything, he is just like horrible. And like I know the whole United lineup is like underwhelming. Like for the most part, there's like 1 or 2 or 3 players that are good, but he may be the worst player in that team. Like other than like Maguire, like he may be the worst player in that team. I don't know. And then Lukaku, I understand it's Conte, but like
he's good. But Napoli's thin in the midfield, so they need players. I mean, just plain and simple. It's
even defenders. Look at like Buongiorno's out, like they're done. Like it's like, you know what I mean? Like it's. No.
I'm not gonna criticize McTominay because I don't watch enough EPL to even give him a Like I can't really criticize a player that I don't really watch a league too much of, so I can't really speak for him. As for Lukaku, man, that guy there, he's traveled the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I could say. But he scores double-digit goals, so man loves to play under Conte, so I can see him scoring double-digit goals this year. Like if he has to, like he has. I'm telling you, man, Lukaku playing under Conte, it's like he's the only guy he could put that guy in his place and like get him fit, trains hard, has the right mentality.
Bro,
like
he's 30. He's 32 years old. Like, what
Hey,
do we think we're getting out of him?
Some people just need a fucking leader,
Okay.
man. Like they just
Okay.
excuse my language.
Listen, he's gonna score. Go ahead. He's gonna score his 10 goals, his 10 to 12 to 13, maybe 15 goals. Brother, you had Osimhen. He was scoring 25 when he's healthy. He's scoring 20. Like, what are we getting out of this guy? Is he taking them to the next level? Maybe he's taking them top 4 because the rest of the league fucking sucks. But I don't know.
I think they'll get top 4. Like, I know that's not the conversation, but
I don't think so, man.
I think there's a good chance they can, because honestly, like, I think Inter and Juve are locked top 2. Like, I'm not going to debate the order. I probably still would say Inter first at the current moment, but like, I think those are pretty safe. And then, yeah, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But I think
you don't think Milan and Atalanta are clearly better than Napoli?
The way Milan has started, I mean,
the same amount of points as Napoli, no? No, Napoli's got 3. They won the game.
They have a win there, right? Whereas, like, I'm not too sure. And then Atalanta, I mean, like, probably 4th to 5th, but I think they probably could sneak 4th, especially because Conte domestically, they don't have European football. I'm not having AC second. I don't believe that, but that's
100% Oaks, 100% with you.
Top 4.
I think anybody could finish in the top 4 other than Inter. Honest to God. I can see, like, you guys have to remember, there's only 2 games in the season. The transfer market's not closed. Teams are still trying to figure out what the heck they're going to be. Like, things can change in an instant. Like, you can see that Juve is a very young squad now, okay? They can get shredded apart. I wonder what the mental state is like for these young guys if they lose 2 games in a row.
They give up a goal. I mean? Like, they haven't given up a goal yet, right? Wait till that happens.
Yeah, like
I just think the mentality.
I like to see how they.
Yeah,
like I don't. And then you got Milan. I think Milan is not a strong team. I think they can fall out of the top 4. Like, they already have 2 injuries in their squad. That's concerning. Like, who's their striker? Morata. Like, Morata can't stay healthy. So who do you have else to depend on? You don't have Giroud anymore. Like, as old as Giroud was, he still scored goals. Like, and you got Atalanta. Atalanta's got a lot of injuries. Like, and they're bringing in players the last second. They gotta start to reconfigure again. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I just think the league has a lot of ifs for each team. Inter's an old squad, man. That back line is older than my freaking mother-in-law's car. That's 30 years old. Like seriously. Like, Acerbi's on his last leg.
Yeah.
Wan-Bissaka is the only guy that they really have. Bastoni's still good. Don't get me wrong. But other than that, like, who's off their bench? There's a lot of question marks for a lot of teams, man. Roma looks like they came out of a retirement home. Like, Steve, you've been quiet. What's up?
I'm just letting you guys go. I'm going to bring it back to the Inter-Atalanta match before we move on to your squad. So, when we look at the lines, Nick mentioned it, Inter's big favorite in this one. Retegui, who's got 3 goals already this season, is plus 250 to score a goal in this one. Atalanta not getting a lot of respect, and I think for good reason, because, it's at Inter, it's at the San Siro. Do you see a place where Atalanta comes out and beats the champs at home, and all of a sudden Inter's in a little bit of a mini, not crisis, because they'll still have 4 points, but, have a little something to worry about maybe? Like, is there any value in Atalanta in this one?
I like a tie. I like a tie in this game. I think that I really do believe that Atalanta is very good at rebounding after a loss.
Yeah.
Gasperini, from what I was listening on a podcast with Nima and Carlo, they mentioned that Atalanta had missed a a few chances to score that they could have won this game. Because of like there was like a period in the game where they just kind of like blipped and turned off. It was a downfall. When they went down 2-1, they smashed the crossbar in the last minute or two twice.
Mm-hmm.
Like they brought up good points. Like Atalanta just fell asleep for a period. You know what I mean? Like
here's where I'm at, man.
Watch all the game.
Doesn't matter who they bring in. Doesn't matter who starts week to week. Doesn't matter who's subbed in. They just move forward. Not always getting the results, but like they're consistently coming at you. Yes. Oh my God. Oaks missed a fucking penalty in the 96th minute to kill our team total.
Yep.
Fucking Pasalic let him take it. I don't know why they let that fucking clown take it.
Yeah. Now here's an interesting couple stats.
Atalanta +1 is -130. That's the play.
Head to head, Inter's won 5 in a row, and they haven't lost in 12 straight to Atalanta, which is interesting considering how good Atalanta's been the past 6-7 seasons. That they haven't been able to get a win in the last basically 6 seasons, 12 straight.
And this is why, though. I'm sorry, it's not directly related to your point, Steve. Just while I'm thinking about them, this team has more of an upside to me than Napoli, because you know what Napoli's lineup is, right? Yeah, okay. What's his face is coming in? Lukaku's coming in, right? This is a team had a ton of turnover. Lookman's probably on his way out. Unfortunate. Scamacca's hurt. Doesn't really mean shit. They sold Coop Miners, obviously. They replaced every guy within 25 seconds, right? Then the next fucking morning you woke up and there was transfer news of 2-3 new guys coming in to replace the one person that went out. Retegi's in there. Zaniolo, I don't really think all that much of him. Samardzic comes right in. The defender, Bellanova, right, comes right in. Yeah. This team retools, and they have pretty good depth. What's his face? Brescianini, listen, I'm not going to pretend I knew him all that well before this year, but he's looked pretty decent through 2 games. They seem to me like they're going to have it figured out. They have much more upside, in my opinion. So I just crazy head-to-head stats that you just threw out of Steve, but these guys are right. Draw is very, very, very probable, and if you guys like the draw at +300, which is a silly good number, I like Atalanta +1 and -130 because you're just buying a whole set of results, right? They win the game or they draw the game. There you go. Take your money. So I think they keep it close.
Yeah, I don't hate it because I don't think they get blown away. I think you're keeping yourself to a push maybe there.
Right. Inter wins by 1. Get your money back. I don't know. A whole lot of results you give yourself with that spread.
Yeah. It's a solid line on a pretty good team. All right, let's go to your team. You and Jerry here. Lazio hosting Milan. We talked about it. Milan struggling. Lazio last week struggled, right? I called that one. We called it on here. We said Udinese, right? After Lazio beat up on Venezia. So this one, Milan slight favorites. Lazio +170 in the money line. Milan +145. The draw line is +230. Milan needs a result here, right? They need something.
Nick, give us the most unbiased take on Milan, since Steve and I were a little high on them, and Jerry's a Lazio fan. What do you make of this Milan side? Forget about the game. Take the game into consideration after the fact, but what do you think of their team? What do you think of what they did in the market?
I think they need more, for sure. I think they were underwhelming in the market. I think you can definitely see a lot of people online that are very upset with the transfer market and like kind of what they have brought in. They have brought in some good players. Like I do know that Morata does have a bit of injury issues, but I think for 13 mil, like that is not a bad signing at all. Maybe should they have aimed a bit higher? Yeah, probably. But I think he's one of those strikers that I do think is like very underrated. And for 13 million, like you can't go wrong.
It's as good as Lukaku's going to be, right? Don't you wouldn't you say, if everybody that's hyping up Lukaku and saying he's going to have this great year,
I think
don't you put Morata in that same category?
100%. And I definitely think he'll be in that category. I think Fofana's a really good signing. I have mixed feelings on Pavlovic. I watched the game on the weekend, or even the first game from the week before, and I don't know if he had a really good game or he had a very bad game. Like there's some things that he does very well because he's just like a brute. And I think that like he can be very effective, but I also think because of that, he can be very rash. But I don't know. Like I didn't buy the we're going to win the Scudetto preseason hype because friendlies, because they beat Madrid, they beat City, because not for anything, and again, not to bring it back to us, but like Juve beat Madrid 3-1 last year in preseason. Like at the end of the day, preseason doesn't really mean a lot. It's more for fitness. It's more just to, kind of get their like players and fitness under order. I think they're pretty good. Going into this weekend, I know we're still going to get to that, but probably give them the slight edge, but it is also at the Olympico. So I don't know. I think a draw or like like those double chances where it's like win or draw. I think that's very safe for Milan. I can't see them losing again, but they just look a little bit dysfunctional. Like Leao is a really good player, but like he looks so disinterested, or like when he just keeps shooting and chances he doesn't need to shoot. And when he is able to shoot, they're just horrific. Like he really needs to get back into his groove if they are going to do well. He's absolutely the talisman of that team. I do think that they also need to figure out what they're doing with all the wingers, because they have Pulisic, who sometimes plays as a 10. They have Chikwueze, who's pretty much sitting on the bench, who I think is very effective. I don't know. They're a weird squad. Like they have a lot of very good individual players, but they're just not gelling well so far.
Yeah. I only watched the first game of the season against Torino, and I thought that they were very. It was a very weird game when they played Torino. I thought they had to like come back against. They were down 2-0
until like the 80th minute.
They scored 89 and 90 something. Yeah.
It was very late in that match.
All because of a bad substitution that Torino made. That I forgot what his name was. He came on and he was at fault for 2 goals, center back. But like in the first game, I noticed that they passed the ball a lot, but they didn't really take advantage in the final third, from what I remember against Torino. As for the Parma game, I didn't watch it. And I heard that Parma could have scored 4 or 5 goals.
They could have
alone in the first half.
Crazy.
Like I didn't have time to watch the game. I watched the Lazio game and I wanted to smash my TV. But aside from that,
same.
What's his name? Tia is not playing this weekend. Morata's out this weekend. So Milan is always cursed every year with injuries. I don't know how much of those will be a factor against Lazio. But aside from what Milan is, Lazio just can't beat Milan if their life depended on it. Like they only have like 2 wins to San Siro since 1989, something like that, something crazy like that. At home, they fare better at the Stadio Olimpico. I'll say this, and I know this will sound cliche, and like people will be like, yeah, whatever. I don't know. I wonder if this team will rise to the occasion to play forth Sven Goran Eriksson, passing away on Monday. God bless him. And I know that like nostalgia can sometimes, like something like that can always push the team to play harder for one game. You know what I mean? So I wonder if that will have a factor as well for some of the players. A guy like Cataldi who grew up being a Lazio fan, and I'm not sure if he'll be in the lineup or in the roster in the squad, but guys like that are influenced, right? And in addition, I'm not sure if you saw this tonight, Casale has been sold to Bologna with the right for redemption.
Great.
So I don't know how that will impact the squad
positively.
On Saturday. But
we're Lazio fans like 2 years ago calling for him and Romagnoli to be starting for Italy.
Romagnoli absolutely could have been, but Casale.
You understand that, bro?
Even Casale got a lot of scouts too. I remember.
Yeah,
I'm not. I thought Casale was going to be – he had a really good first year when he came here. I think that injury he got really either mentally really hurt him or set him back a lot, because he has not looked like the same confident player like he was in the first season. And this Noslin guy that we got from Verona as well, the man looked like he was running out of breath after 20 minutes against Udinese on Saturday, man. Like, no, I'm not gonna make fun of him because like I don't know if he has an asthma problem or something. Like, he was running out of gas already before halftime, and that's concerning. And if this guy doesn't work out, Verona has robbed Lazio like of
Yeah,
$30 million.
they already did
It's
because we signed their
ridiculous.
fucking loser coach. Listen, man, I'm gonna say some
Right,
harsh
man.
realities here. You shop at the dollar store, you get dollar store quality shit, right? And you're taking a coach, and it's 2 games, man. Let me like I and you guys have heard me say it. I'm friends with all of you. I came into this season with no expectations, right? This is a complete reset from Lazio. It's a needed reset. There's teams 4, 5, 6, 8 of them very clearly better than Lazio. I cannot debate or dispute that, nor will I try to. But you run out the first game, you get a nice little win. The team looks kind of good. You start to readjust your expectations a little bit. That was a huge fucking mistake. We got a coach that's fucking in his 60s. His claim to fame is he saved Hellas from relegation. That's not who you hire if you're aspiring to fucking create a project. That's not who you hire a year removed from the Champions League fucking knockout stages. So that's mistake number 1. And then mistake number 2, you mentioned these players like Noslin, like 3 or 4 other guys that nobody ever fucking heard of before this year. You take players from fucking Salernitana and Hellas. I don't care how talented they are. Dia might be a good player. He had 1 good year in Serie A. You're getting guys from these relegation clubs. That's the level they're at, man. Like that's, you're replacing Immobile. You're replacing Alberto. You're replacing, Anderson and Kamada and some of these guys. Like they may not have been at their best last year, but that's a lot of fucking talent to replace. And you're not doing it with 4 players from teams that went down to the 2nd division. Plain and simple. So that's my gripe with this Lazio team. To your point, Jerry, we need to see something from them. Maybe as showing a little bit of heart with this news. I don't know how connected any of these players are to Eriksson. Probably none of them are. But you want to see a response out of this coach. He has had no game plan through 2 games. He's made ridiculous substitutions through 2 games. We could have stuck with Sadi if we wanted to do the same shit. So that's kind of my gripe with them right now. Thank you guys for listening. But, Milan, it's not looking much better. So it probably really seems like a get rights. But like Milan's coming into town at the perfect fucking time. If you're them, something's got to give in this game. I don't know that I can give an unbiased opinion. But, man, Milan fucking on the money line looks really, really good to me.
Yeah, I even like them draw no bet at -125. Protect against the draw. Still pretty close to even money.
Yeah.
But yeah, this Lazio lineup, I'm looking at the projected formation on Gazzetta, and like I know they were.
I took a bet on Tati last game to have 2 shots on target, and it was a silly number. Like Tati to get 2 shots on target, it was like plus 250. I'm like, oh shit, they're playing Udinese. He's gonna get chance. He had 7 shots in the game. His last one in like the 99th minute got on target. Fucking terrible. Dude, he can't hit the net. He's like 5'9". Like they're spamming crosses into him. I don't understand it. It just doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry. I'm going to stop. I'm going to put myself on mute because I'm just going to go on this fucking incredible rant. Jerry, say something nice about Lazio so we can get back on track.
Well, I was going to finish saying what wasn't nice about Lazio. And that was like, I look at this lineup. I obviously I recognize some names because the Kanye's there, Romagnoli's there. I know Castellanos from last year, but like you said, Noslin, Dele Bashiru, like these are guys you never heard of that they brought in. And like you said, like they lost Chiedo, who maybe wasn't the same anymore, but legend of the club.
Bro's got like 4 goals already this year.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
So much talent left.
Are they playing Ravella, Lazio, right now? Like, are they playing him regularly?
He's gotten like 20 minutes so far this year, I feel like.
I don't understand why. I don't like. I know he's not. I'm not saying he's a world beater, but like the whole point of bringing him in on loan for 2 years and then having a buy option for like 17 mil or something specific like that. Like I thought he would get more play time here, especially with the options in front of him. I don't really understand.
I say that too, but then when you're on your 3rd coach and you're not getting playing time, there's clearly something we're not seeing.
Yeah, so
right?
Maybe it could be that case.
I don't know.
Do you know what's weird about Lazio though is like, as you said, like Milan's coming in the perfect time into town and all that, but like as someone who's put in a lot of like multi-team parlays in the past, like this is the also exact game that like Lazio will just go and just like win or tie. Like it's like one of those games where it's like they just shouldn't, but they will, and it's like it's a weird game. Like I know this doesn't help anyone, but I can genuinely see Lazio like winning this game as well. Or at least tying. Like I don't know. Like they're both teams that have underwhelmed, and both teams are coming off a bad result. Like Milan, honestly, like kind of like how Jerry kind of like said as well. Like they genuinely could have conceded like 4 or 5 goals last game. Then you have Lazio, who had a really bad performance. I was lucky enough to watch both, and like I don't know, like it's like someone's gonna have to like beat the mid off. Like I don't know, like someone's gonna have to break it, right? So I don't know. It's definitely hard.
Yeah, I like that bet. Both teams to score in over 2.5. I mean, I think the over is playable on its own. It's -120 for 3 goals. Both defenses look fucking terrible. So I think that's pretty safe bet.
Well, I'll say this. I went to Gazzetta, and I'm just looking at what the formation would be like if everyone was healthy and we had our players. And they have Lazzari, Gila, Romagnoli, Tavares, which I don't mind.
I hope he's healthy.
And then Guendouzi, Ravella, Chayuna, and you got Castrovilli, and then Zaccani, and then Castellanos. On paper, it doesn't look bad when you have certain players who really haven't been playing for Lazio yet. Like Gila has been injured. Tavares hasn't recovered from his injury yet. Those are two important players in the back line. Then you got Rovella, who should have started on Saturday. I have no idea why he didn't play to begin with. I thought that was – I'm not a Vecino hater like others are. I don't hate him because I don't hate – there are certain players you just need to know when to use them. You know what I mean? It's like Roma hating on Cristante. When you're up 2 goals, you put Cristante in. When you're trying to win a game, you don't put Cristante in. Cristante is just a filler. You know what I mean? You don't put a guy like that in when you're up. What you got to know when to, like, Vecino is good when you're up a goal. He's a good defensive player who's not an offensive player. You know what I mean? Like if you're trying to get goals, why is Vecino on the field? And obviously everyone's gonna hate him. You got to use players to their strengths, and a lot of these guys don't do that. Like I don't understand why Vecino would start with Guendouzi and that Deli Basharur guy, like he would looked out of his league on Saturday. But like, and you have Guendouzi who has to do everything by himself. Then he gets burned on the second goal because he's the only one trying to take down the player. And like I said, Vecino's a good substitution player. Comes on for 30 minutes, can change the game if he wanted to. He's done it before. But like, again, I don't know what they're gonna start on Saturday. If Ravella doesn't start on Saturday, there's an issue here because. Like that guy should be playing every game. He's a good player, man.
Agree. I just thought you're talking about fucking front line of Zaccani and Castellanos, and like if you put one on top of the other, you don't have a 6-foot striker. So I just don't understand it.
And that's where Diaz should go up front, and you put Castellanos behind him. I think Castellanos would be good as a supporting striker.
Yeah, he cannot be the target man anymore.
No, he can't.
I'm so with you.
It's unfortunate for him. I think I don't want to poop on the guy because he tries. You know why? He tries harder than 90% of the team to try to score a goal.
Fair.
The unfortunate part is that this guy has scored double digits for teams, and all of a sudden he comes to Lazio.
Yeah, those teams are New York City FC, bro. Like
he had a good season with Girona. He had a good season in La Liga, man. There was that one year he had again. I don't know. I just love how everyone used to shit on Cheeto so much, and look what he used to do, man. And now
I think he's horrible, man. He's such a bad footballer. I don't know.
Cheeto?
No, like Vecino. Like he's just not good. No, not Chiro Mobile. Hey, like that's different. We can have a conversation at a different time. But like Vecino, man, like there are like some players in football, and I know like I'll get to it for sure with Steve in the next game. But like players like Cristante, man, players like Vecino, like I just feel like there's just not a place for them, man. Like they don't do anything particularly well, and they're just like a physical body.
They
like,
need to eat up minutes, bro. That's what you need.
Just,
you need
that.
to eat minutes.
Yeah,
I don't do anything when they're there. Like they're defensively liable. They can't create. They can't like. They're just bodies. Like they're just like I don't know. And again, it's not really his fault. Like that's what I'm saying. Like Guendouzi, like I actually feel like I'm one of the only players who actually thinks he's quite decent. Like I remember watching him at Marseille a bit. I remember watching him at Arsenal.
Good player, man.
Like, really I like him. I think he's pretty good. But like he can't do it all alone. And like you said, Nick, like it's really hard to replace like Luis Alberto, Ciro Mobile, like all in one season. If you have like Latito bringing in players that are like relegation fighting, like it's very hard to now match that level. The coach like rotation is like essentially like Chelsea, like it's just a runaround. Like it's just very hard to get any sort of consistency in that team. I don't know. From an outsider perspective, that's definitely what it seems like, and I feel like you guys only know that better, right? So,
100%. Well said.
All right, let's move on to the last big match of the weekend, Roma Juve, because we got Scotty waiting to come on and talk a little bit about his Liverpool United match that's also this weekend. So,
That's a wrap, guys. That was great talking, Juve.
Thanks for showing up.
No. We're spending some time on Juve Roma. I don't know how much I want to spend on it, but Juve minus 145 on the money line, Roma plus 360, draw line plus 250. Like we said earlier in the show, Juve's been the best team in the league through 2 match weeks. Roma has been very underwhelming. Apparently today there was a spat between De Rossi and the aforementioned Cristante in training because Cristante did not hustle after losing the ball, and we all know De Rossi was the ultimate hustler in Roma's midfield for a long time. So we'll see if that galvanizes the team or if it creates any issues going into Sunday. But Juve rightfully the big favorites at the Allianz in this one.
Yeah.
Let me give my hot take before I let you guys go on your absolute worthwhile rant. Man, Roma here, coach. We got lost to Empoli and a 0-0 draw to Cagliari, right? So we're talking about one goal through 2 games.
And the goal scorer was Eldor Shomurodov.
That's okay, right? So
they threw him on, and I texted my Chiesi Totti group text and said, "This is the ultimate desperation move," and the man scored a goal and almost scored a second. So I don't know what to make of the first 2 matches. I really don't.
I mean, 2 shit relegation teams that you faced, pretty much the same results as us here. It's tough, dude, because you had the uncertainty with Dybala. You have Sule, who everybody's very high on. He's young. He will eventually be a very good player. We saw this last year when he got consistent time, right? He's very streaky. He's going to have 3-4 games in a row where he looks very good. He's going to have 3-4 games in a row where he's invisible. Early start to the season, new team. I don't really blame him. Pellegrini, still a guy I can't figure out, who has all the talent in the world. Obviously, he had a very tough injury, but can't seem to find his space in this team. And now, same thing, right? You're on your second manager, maybe his third manager since he's back at Rome. Can't figure out what he's doing.
Fourth manager,
even worse. I don't know what you guys are doing on the left wing. Listen, I love El Shaarawy to death, one of my favorite players. I don't understand what's happening there. So this team, to me, point I'm really trying to make is I don't necessarily see an identity from Roma. I don't see what they're trying to accomplish on the field. Granted, they brought in a lot of new players, right? I think Lafie is going to be a good player. I think he's looked pretty decent so far. But now's not the time to face Juve. I'm trying to be objective. I'm trying not to take sides. Just we can overreact about Juventus a little bit. I'm going to let Nick do that in a second. But what have we seen on this team through 180 minutes that says they're going to score a fucking goal or they have a chance in this game? I really don't see it.
Not a whole lot. It's going to take Dybala and Sule to work some magic, I think. The midfield is a bit of a problem. De Rossi basically said in his post-match comments that he needs a more physical midfielder in his squad, which he hasn't been one to say things like that so directly in his time.
You got Cristante, man. What do you need a physical midfielder for? He's the best.
Yeah.
Athletic physical midfielder.
Okay.
Put it that way.
How's my boy Mancini doing? He can't be doing that good if they gave up 3 goals or 4 goals in 2 games.
Well, I'm going to talk about the second goal on Sunday. That was Paredes literally gifting the ball to Empoli and then giving up a penalty on the same play in frustration of giving up the ball. So, that to me was unforgivable. The other one came on the left wing where Sule was actually tracking the player Giassi who scored the goal, which that's not what you want him doing, but he was the one who led off and, should have kept tracking back, I guess, but he's a young player and he's an attacking winger, so it's not that surprising. But, it's been those kind of goals that they've given up. What's more concerning to me is the going forward with the ball, right? Or when they give up winning back possession because the midfield hasn't done that well enough. Empoli could have scored a couple other opportunities. It's the attack is more of the concern right now, I think, because where's the goal coming from against the Juve side that's looked pretty good defensively?
That's
so
given
far.
up like what 2 shots total in 2 games or
They have
something
one shot
ridiculous
on
like that.
One.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
It's
insane.
one, I think. Yeah.
And they played nobodies, but still, that I don't give a shit who you play. That's unreal for 180 minutes. It's pretty good. Nick, I mean, get into it, dude. What have you seen so far that you really like from your squad? What do you see in this matchup?
All right. Before I go into that, I do just want to talk about, and I'm going to make it as nice as possible because I want to talk about Roma for 1 second because my brother's team is actually Roma. So
Don't
this
hold
weekend
back.
is also, yeah. So, okay, I'm going to say a couple of things. Okay. Firstly, the game on the weekend, I agree with you 100%, Steve. It's the issue of where the goal comes from because the front looks completely disjointed. I think the players, honestly, I think Roma's forwards are very, very good. And it just looks very disjointed. Like you have Sule, who I know a lot of Juventus fans, including myself, who's very bitter, to see him leave because he's a player with a lot of talent. Dybala, just even at 30, 31, that guy's maybe the best technical player still in the entire league. Dovbyk comes off being like the top goal scorer in Girona and like even as of La Liga. So like I really like your forwards, like 100%. I do think it's more just trying to.
I think the pieces are good. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah,
the pieces they brought in are good.
Obviously, the left side is a little bit of an issue. Whether you play Pellegrini on the wing, whether it's Elsha, like I understand that's a bit of an issue. But the forwards themselves are very, very good. It's the issues that they're not really connecting. And like even kind of like how you guys mentioned before, like I watched that whole game again because other than Juve, I think because it's my brother's team, like I'm very interested to see how Roma's going to do this year. So, like, they really in the first half, like, Yassi missed, like, an open net. Colombo missed an open net onto the crossbar. Like, it could have been 3 or 4. Like, it could have been a lot worse. But my issue is it's not – although the forwards do need to link up, I think the rest of Roma is just not very good. Like, Lafy is, from what I know, he's pretty good. I do believe he's out this weekend, though, unless he's
out till after the international break.
Yeah, so he's out, just like Thuram is. So he's out. I think, as I said before, I think Cristante should he'd be a mid player in the MLS. Like, I think he's horrible. I think Paredes, me and my brother are
the worst.
Dude,
I can't.
I don't know how he keeps finding his way into big clubs. I don't see it. And into the Argentine national team.
Fucking penalty merchant.
That's what. I don't.
Paredes, my brother loves him, and I think he's so mid. And as I said, I watched that whole game. And from him losing the ball to him absolutely fouling the guy in the box for the penalty, that was just a horrific 15 seconds. That was really, really bad. Kind of continuing on, I think the defense is not great. That's definitely one other thing. I think Smalling's still decent. I think the fullbacks need a ton of work. I know you guys just signed that new right back, but from what I understand, obviously I'm not going to pretend like I know who that really is from the Saudi league. But also, I really don't like Mancini either. I think he's incredibly rash. I don't think he's a good person, but that's irrelevant of the point. But I don't think he's.
I like Mancini.
I just don't think he's great. I think he has certain games where he's. Sorry.
He's racist.
Yeah, I don't really like him to be honest. But even as just as a player, man, even
I like Jerry Mancini.
Sorry.
I
yeah,
like
Jerry Mancini is better than Gianluca Mancini. I agree 100%. That's what I'm saying. It's just he's so rash. I don't even when he played for Italy, he always scares me. I just don't really like him. So my problem is I think the forwards are the best part of Roma by a country mile. I just think that the rest of the team, the midfield is not going to create enough for the front. And there's a big disjoint between the midfield and the attack. Sule, I thought, although he didn't have an incredible game, I thought he was the best forward last game, other than obviously the striker who scored. But for someone who played a decent amount of minutes, I thought he had created some good chances. But Dybala definitely didn't have his best game. Dovbyk had a chance or two, but it was still sparse.
Yeah, so I think they're not getting him the ball enough, I feel like. Because those first 5-10 minutes, they got him a couple looks, and I was like, okay, there's some good signs here. And then they just couldn't get him the ball anymore.
Exactly. And I don't know, and again, it's not really all his fault, I know. And this could be a different debate into something else. But if these performances continue at this rate, I don't know if De Rossi makes it past Christmas. If this trend does continue, I don't
think he's got more leash than other managers would have.
I feel like so, but like let's just pretend like hypothetically, like this guy by December is like 9th, 10th. Does he have more time?
Nick, I'm so with you, dude. I asked
on.
Steve the question before the season started because if you remember the end of last year, he fell off a cliff, bro. He lost like his last 5 games or something like that. Like how much does how good is he?
I'm not even blaming him entirely, but
well, I think you have to understand if you're hiring a manager whose only experience was not even half a season in Serie A, I think, with Spal, there's going to be growing pains. And then you're building a whole new squad around him that's pretty young. They're going younger, things like that, right? Like if you hire a club legend to replace Mourinho, which is part PR move, I think, when they hired him, right? Who else were we going to hire at that point that was going to take some of the criticism away from the Friedkins for firing a coach like Mourinho with his status, right? I think that was part why he got hired when he did. But I do think you have to give him some time. I don't think you could fire him by Christmas and come out of it looking good as a club. I think if you're going younger with a lot of these players, you can't do that.
Yeah, it's just like I don't feel like, and again, I'm not trying to like diminish the work that he did because I know obviously he had some good periods as well last season, but like I just don't feel like tactically he's like super like inept. Like I don't think that. I think it's more just like passion because that is who he was as a player. You know what I mean? A very talented player, but he was most of all like he had like that like grinta and like passion like for Rome, right? And obviously that helps the players play harder. But when they have really tough matches or they have struggles, like is that going to be enough to really fix it? You know what I mean? So like I don't want him to be sacked because I like him and like I don't think it's predominantly his fault. I do think his team is just not incredible, but I don't know. Like he could be sacrificed. I think like it's a potential. You know what I mean? I don't know, but yeah. Sorry, that's my piece on it.
How much money has Roma invested this year?
They've invested a bit. Sule was about like with bonuses 30.
So
yeah,
you telling me you're
35?
Okay, let's get some shit over here. Hold on, let's get some shit together here, man. This ain't fucking Lazio where you spend $15 million at McDonald's to buy the Happy Meal and the quarter pounder to come home. You're going to fucking Roma. You're buying the fucking whole enchilada, buddy. You're getting the Big Mac. You know what I mean? Like you're bringing home the best meal possible, and you're trying to put something together. Like they spent a lot of money, Roma. So I think there's going to be a point with the Freakins where they're going to start to want to say, "Where's Champions League? We're investing money." Like I understand. Like I understand he's a new coach, but that's on management as well. I don't know why they hired this fucking guy to begin with. What they should have done is when they did bring him last year, he was just a stopgap for the year. He shouldn't have been re-signed. He shouldn't have came back for the next year because he's not qualified to be managing Roma right now. He's just not at that tier. Like
think back to Milan. That's what Milan was doing about a decade ago, right? Seedorf, the other Inzaghi, man. Right? Pippo Inzaghi.
Hey, what about somebody that got fired today for the 4th time in his career that I haven't heard anybody mention yet?
Pirlo.
Your very good friend, Andrea Pirlo, who's the greatest player there is. 4th time he's fired.
Got
some guys still aren't a coach.
Yeah. And I do
who's he coaching for?
He was coaching Serie B, and he got fucking fired.
Pirlo got top 4 and 2 trophies and still got fired. Though. I just want to
brother, you could have got top 4 and 2 trophies with that fucking Juve squad. Don't put that on Pirlo like he did something. Get out of here.
No, but hold on. How long was he coaching for? Like, how many matches before he got fired, though?
Juve or Sampdoria?
Like, yeah.
He finished like 10th place with them last year or some shit like that.
I think he had a whole season last year. They
didn't get promoted. How good was he?
Okay, but you're coaching a bag of shit, man. What do you want, man? The team fucking doesn't even invest.
Everybody
money.
he's coaching against is the same level, Jerry. Don't act like Sampdoria is worse than anybody else.
No, man. No, you can't compare Sampdoria to Roma. Roma's putting money. Sampdoria fucking went off a map, man.
I'm trying to make is the previous owner was doing
blow. He's doing blow, man, at his freaking casa, for God's sake, man. He's doing blow. That's what he's doing. What was his name? The guy who always looked like he was a crack man. What was his name again? He went to jail. The previous Sampdoria owner.
Oh, I don't.
Oh, yes.
I don't know his name.
I can picture him.
Oh, we had that freaking mullet, man.
No, he was a menace. I remember.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's the team that Pirlo should be learning to play, to understand how to coach. Or you take the Simone Inzaghi route.
Massimo Ferrero.
Okay, that guy was the best.
Thank
you. Or you go. I think Simone Inzaghi is the only coach I know that is smart and didn't come to Serie A to burn himself in the ground. He coached for like a decade with the Primavera squad, learned how to coach, took those young kids, and then he was promoted to Lazio, which was a miracle because they had signed what was his name? Bielsa. Bielsa, and he flew the coop in 2 days to find out. I don't know how stupid he was to think that Lotito was going to spend all this money for him, but I digress. And then Simone Inzaghi comes in, takes the opportunity, and look what he did.
But exactly,
you have
just
to
came
develop
full circle with your point.
But I think
Jerry.
That's Europe, though. Like a lot of teams are doing.
I'm not knocking these former players, these guys like De Rossi, like Pirlo, for getting jobs. If teams are going to hire you, good for you. You should take the job.
I think it's the team.
God bless. But Jerry's point, I think that he started to make before he went off on a fucking tangent, was that De Rossi is just not cut out for this. It's in Roma.
I think it's a little early to say that.
Okay, it's early to say that. But if Roma has ambitions to make Champions League, which to Jerry's point, they haven't made in 5-6 years, whatever the fuck it's been, never made it under Mourinho, you don't hire De Rossi as a coach.
Yeah, you don't.
If you're signing Dybala, if you're signing Lukaku, Tammy Abraham, if you're signing this caliber of player, you get a coach to fucking back it up and you make top 4. Who the fuck was so good the last 2 years that Roma couldn't make top 4?
But my issue is that right now, like in this season, right? And again, I agree with you, Nick, but like my thing is in this season right now, you genuinely, I know my brother is going to say yes, but he's fucking lying to himself. You can't say right now, you look at Roma's squad and be like, they're better than, there are not 4 teams better than them. There are 4 teams better than them. So like, that's my issue is like, okay, if they get Europa League, is that good? Is that enough for the goal? Because they've also invested 100 million this summer between Dovbyk, between Sule, between Donzo, who's almost confirmed, if not confirmed, between Lafy, between like they have bought players, but like Inter, Juve, Milan, Napoli are all better. I think I think so. Like at least the first 3, 100%. Napoli probably as well. So like those are just, and even honestly, Atalanta look like a combined unit. They look like solid. So is it his fault if he doesn't get top 4? I don't know. Like that's kind of like where it's a little more difficult. You know what I mean?
I'm just gonna say with Roma, like how late do these players come? That's first thing. I feel like
they're still trying to get players.
Yeah, that's the first problem, is that the players are arriving late. So
and you're getting rid of your striker.
Well, Tammy Abraham, I don't know why they give up on him. It is what it is.
They almost got rid of Dybala, not through their fault.
Well, that was a different situation.
I still think De Rossi is setting himself up for failure.
Maybe he's the perfect coach because maybe he's the fall guy for the team that's not quite there. Because you guys are falling into Lazio's fucking category of. I said this with Sadio Mourinho for the past 3 years. What's the project? What is the goal? Where's Champions League? You gotta make top 4. You have to. Like if you're not trying to make top 4, what are you trying to do?
Oh, they're definitely trying. But
are they? You guys just told me there's 6 teams better than them.
They've invested too much to not try, though. That's the difference. Like, I believe wholeheartedly they believe they will get top 4. It's just the problem is just like in reality, like Inter is absolutely better. My brother will argue me, but like fight me. Like Juve is absolutely better. Milan's better. Napoli, in my opinion, is better. Like there are just 4 teams on paper that are better. And the thing is sometimes management, like look at Bologna last year. Like managers, good managers, great managers help you beat that deficit. And the issue is De Rossi good enough to say, do I take this 6th, 7th place team and bring them to 4th? That's like the gap of like, that's what you got to kind of figure out, right? And
even Thiago Motta had his learning curve at Genoa, right? How disastrous was that first stint at Genoa when he was playing like his 2-6-2 or whatever he was playing, like
he was playing crazy
experimental like thing that he was doing, right? So. Yeah, no, I think it's obviously early for Roma. I think the squad needs to gel. The talent is there up front, right? They're going to score goals. It will come. I'm not doubting that. Another player who's been intriguing, I will say, is Tommaso Baldanzi. They've been playing him more as a
Forgot about
mezzala.
him. We didn't even
Right?
mention him because
he's been
I
good,
forgot all
and
about
they've
him.
been playing him as a mezzala rather than like a number 10 because they've got Dybala, they've got all these guys that are play further up the pitch, and he's looked really good. And for a little guy, he gets his foot in there and sticks in a tackle, and has been a real positive. Him and Lefebvre, when they came on Sunday, kind of turned that match when Roma had to try to come back from 2-0 down. Now Lefebvre's out for this one. I don't know if you're going to start Baldanzi at the Allianz in a new role right from the get-go, which is what worries me, because then who's playing in the midfield? It's probably going to be the same trio again. Yeah. Eduardo Bove can't get a look. He's probably getting sold for whatever reason. That one kind of
doesn't make sense, by the way.
That one baffles me because he was being compared to a young De Rossi when he was brought up under Mourinho. Now, I don't think he's on the same talent level as De Rossi was, but you tell me you need a physical midfielder. I thought he has some of those qualities, but I don't know. So yeah, I think it's going to be pretty much the same lineup we saw against Empoli, which is what worries me, especially in the midfield against this Juve squad. So I tend to be an optimist. Nick will tell you he tends to be more pessimistic than me when it comes to our sports takes, and I tend to be more optimistic. And it's hard to find a lot of optimism going into this match with the way things have gone so far, unless, like I said, Dybala pulls out some magic against his ex squad, which I wouldn't put it past him, right?
I would hate that so much.
Because I've seen exes do it to Roma plenty of times. Maybe Sule and him team up, and then they find Dovbyk a few times, and then a goal finds its way in. But
Steve is gearing himself up to take the Roma team total. Man, I see it.
No way I'm taking it this week.
I've seen this
made that
progression
mistake
of
the first
Steve.
2 weeks.
Just Juve over 1.5 goals. Just lock that in. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah,
or at least 2, for sure.
So there's my question to you, Nick. We see Roma, right? We spent some good time on them right now. Good discussion, boys. Nothing's gone right for them. In Juve, nothing has gone wrong for them, right? So what do you see those two trends continuing? Do you see Roma kind of punching them in the face? Hit us with your you're allowed to gloat right now. You're in first place, 6 points.
I'm going to try to I know I went on a really long tangent about Roma, so I am going to try to keep it a little bit shorter and sweeter. I really think, and again, I am also an optimist, kind of like how Steve said. So unfortunately, it's going to be a little bit heightened, but everything right now is nice to be a Juve fan. The team that they're playing. I know people are saying, Cuomo, Verona. The only player that started last game that wasn't in this squad last year was Cabal, and it's a Hellas Verona left back, and that guy looks so solid. Then you have our young next gen players, how we were saying before, like Mbengula, that guy, who is that? I'll take the blame. I was I don't know who that is. And this guy's cooking. He scored 1 goal. He got 2 assists. He conceded the penalty. He looks amazing. Yildiz looks like a star. I think I honestly love how he's projecting. He looks every time he touches the ball, he looks so dynamic. Every touch is boom, he's gone immediately. The midfield is, oh my God, the midfield is a huge thing where I know it's still early, but I think this is the best midfield we've had since the infamous Pogba, Vidal. I'm not saying it's better, but just in comparison to how good or how much we've been lacking in years. Having Douglas Luiz, Coop Miners, Fajoli, Loca, and Thuram is just an amazing midfield to rotate between. Even on the weekend, you know what, we're going to sub off Fajoli. Guess what? You got Douglas Luiz on. And for someone who watches a lot of Prem, he was incredible for Aston Villa last year.
They're missing him right now. You could see it.
Yeah, man. He's just great. I think he's such a good player. I'm actually surprised he hasn't started, but I just think it's simply because he's not 100% match fit. Vlahovic, I know me and you always have that conversation, Nick, but I'm absolutely a believer in him. And I know he should have scored last game, but my God, he looks like he's up for it. And I think he could have a career high amount of goals, especially in this team. The only issue I have on this whole pitch, I think our market's been incredible, A+. I am bitter that we did sell some other players like Sule, like that. But having all these other players come in has been phenomenal, especially the wingers. Sancho may be finalized tomorrow. We don't even need him, in my opinion. And they already have Nico Gonzalez. They already have Cohen Sao, which I actually did bring up the stats here as well. I just lost it. And again, I do think Sule is amazing, but literally in all the stats. Sorry, can you give me 1 second? I apologize. Give me 1 second.
They really did bring in a lot of fucking people.
They
Now that like the way he was rattling them off, I'm like, holy
You
shit!
know,
I
and
forgot that
don't forget they brought in the
guys.
best goalie in Serie A last
Yeah,
year.
like
Yeah.
even
Di
Di
Gregorio was the
Gregorio.
best goalie in Serie A last year.
Yeah, even Di Gregorio's been like, I mean, to be fair, he could have put out a lawn chair for the last 2 games, but like the one save he had to make, he made it. His distribution is just so much better from the back. And like, again, they're performing like this, and they haven't had Coop Miners, Nico Gonzalez play, Kosensao play. They still have all these guys to like implement in, right?
No.
And it's just, it feels great. Obviously, we still have to see that, like when they do play tougher opposition. And the only thing that I do think that would have made this an 11 out of 10 window is the one thing they didn't sign was a ball playing center back. I do know they have Kalulu, and it's nice because they do have coverage at right back and at center back. But like Calafiori for me is just like I know people are trying to cope and they're like, oh, it's no big deal. No, like that is a miss. Like that is a big miss. That would have been phenomenal. Him and Bremer, if they had Calafiori, I genuinely think they win the league. Like I would go as far to say, like, yeah, they're winning it. Like there's just no reason. But as you said, like they're playing amazing football. Like not seeing my team go up 1-0 and then sitting back for 90 minutes is amazing. Like I put up so many like tweets as like jokes, like, oh, dude, like Mata's already saved my life. Like I've enjoyed these last 2 games more than
jokes.
Jokes, but but like they've just been so fresh to watch. Like everyone looks like they're passing, they're playing progressive football. Locatelli's one of the players that a lot of people hate. I've always loved him, and like he's starting to look like his old self under De Zerbi again. Like there's just so much to be happy about. It's very hard to not be, excited for this team and how they're only gonna, implement these even better players. So yeah, I mean, sorry, I know it was a little bit long, but I honestly think like there's so much to be happy about. Everything is just great. Again, they're the only team that's won both games. They haven't conceded a goal. They've only had 1 shot on target against them in 180 minutes, which is crazy. And again, this is the same Verona team, by the way. I know it could have been an off game, but Verona did beat Napoli 3-0 the week before. Like, I do feel like people are kind of like, oh, it's Verona. And it's like, okay, well, they were also second going into this game. You know what I mean? Like, I know it's only 1 game, but they had, like a really good performance against Napoli as well. So I do think this game this weekend will be a bit tougher for sure. I'm not expecting another 3-0 or anything like that, but I would be very much lying if I don't think we win the game. Probably like 2-1 though. Nothing like blowout, but I can't see them losing at home as well. If it was at the Olympico, I actually do think it would be a bit more, but just like that game's definitely going to have a home crowd behind it. Mata was even saying like how much like the 3,500 traveling fans to Verona like was like so loud. You can even hear them in the game. Like when they scored, it sounded like half the stadium was full. Like there's just a lot of good morale going around where it would be very hard for them to lose.
Juve to score a penalty plus 370. You could lock that fucker in.
I was honestly,
there's no doubt in my mind Juve get a penalty this game.
Yeah, Dybala goals plus 330.
Oh, no.
That's a stupid number.
I'm curious to see when the goal or assist number comes out because
probably
it's
like
in the 200s. Like you almost have to take it because he's taking the PK if they get one.
Jerry,
he's taking a lot of any left-footed free kicks and he sets
Jerry,
plays up.
here's my question to you. We hate both teams. What do you see in this one?
I didn't know that DeShilio was still on Juventus. I'm just looking at football, telling what you guys are talking, man.
I would take his ass at
going to
Lazio tomorrow, by the way, for what it's
awful.
fucking worth. I would take it. Nope. It's better than Lazzati and fucking Matisic.
I don't think he is better than either of them. I don't think so, man. Like I know like they're not great, but I would still probably like if you ask me tomorrow, would I take Lazzari or DeShilio right back? I'm taking Lazzari, I think. Like I think I am. Like
Kalulu joined Juve too. And Juve is freaking you know what, man? I know you're saying don't sign Jadon Sancho, don't sign that guy. I think it's smart that Juve is doing this. And I'm like, yo, listen, you can never have too many guys.
Right.
Because injuries happen. You're playing, like I said before, you're playing
flat competition.
Yeah, like you need depth, man. You need players to play. Like people are saying, why do you need Jadon Sancho? Well, there's a reason why, because you don't want to play the same guy every week. It's just unsustainable. What do I think is going to happen on Sunday? I know I said at the beginning that these are the type of games that can get the best out of Roma until I heard that Cristante Dante decided to try to eat De Rossi's face off. I don't know what he's thinking. And apparently, I was just reading the conversation. A lot of it was about Paredes, and there's like backlash on too. Apparently, I was like, oh my god, like talk about
imagine defending Paredes if you're fucking DDR.
But that guy there hasn't been good since he played for PSG. Okay. He was actually a decent player on PSG. He was really good there. And then when he left, I never thought he was the same player ever again. I just think he's some mediocre player that has one good game and 10 bad games. I'm gonna go with Juve for two reasons. I said the Atalanta game. I think I'm gonna go off the limb. I think Lazio's gonna tie as well. I'll be neutral, and then Juve is going to win probably 2-0. I think that playing in front of their home crowd is going to help them, first off, feeding off the fans. But more importantly, I think that momentum is important, and I just think that this Juve team right now is playing some proper football. And what's his name? Mbengula?
Yeah.
Is that his name? That guy... I think he's going to shred Roma apart in that midfield because I saw that. I just watched until once he came off the field on Monday, I stopped watching. It was 3-0, and I was like, this guy he's a very athletic player, very physical, very tough, doesn't stop running. I think he's going to maybe have a good game. I just think that Juve is just deeper everywhere, but the biggest thing is that Roma's not playing as a unit right now, and they need to figure that out quickly because they're just very disjointed, whereas Juve is playing as a unit and they look more complete at the moment, even though they played some of the worst teams. But hey, that can build confidence, and that helps teams to kind of create something. So I'll go with Juve for Sunday, and that's about it.
The only thing I am worried about, and again, like I don't think one man is going to do it against the entire team, but like this is the game that Sule called out and said, "Oh, I'm going to show the guys at the Allianz Stadium like why they should have kept me." So I feel like he's going to be like mega motivated to have like a crazy performance.
Yeah, he either scores a goal or he has a game where he like loses the ball 7 times in the final third and can't complete a cross and shoots to the fucking stars.
Yeah, so I definitely think he's gonna try. Like if you guys do shot props, I think he's gonna be so high up in that game. Like I don't know. And again, like I don't know. I think it's a very small world in which we actually lose that game. I think we'll probably win. I'm gonna say 2-1 or 3-1. I think we'll finally will just concede like a random goal, but I think by that point it'll already be done. Like it'll be 2-0, like 3-0 at that point, and then they'll concede.
All right, so we'll leave it there with the Serie A coverage, guys. Thank you for coming on. Tell everybody where they can find you before you hop off.
Jerry, you want to go first?
You can find me at jmancini8. No, I am not writing anymore. I'm too lazy, too much effort. Maybe one day I'll do TFC again. But for the meantime, while Apple decides to fucking control the league and you have to pay $100 to watch some Bush League, they can kiss my ass. And that's about it. Oh yeah, and Calcio Connection. You can.
Jerry, it's the big return, brother. Like throw a little enthusiasm into it.
You can catch at Calcio Connection my co-host at Alex Dono. Guy's ripping out content right now for his college football. The Miami Hurricanes. He's out and about traveling, and good guy. Catch him on Twitter. Yeah, that's about it. Fuck you, MLS. I hate you. You made me lose interest in your stupid league. Apple. The worst thing is that you have to buy a separate. Hold on. MLS charges for MLS. Apple charges Apple TV, and it doesn't include for like MLS. You have to buy a separate package.
Yeah,
what the
you don't have to have Apple TV to get the MLS package. I'm not agreeing with them, but you don't have to have both. I don't think, right? You could just have.
You have to buy separately. It's a separate package.
Right, but I don't think you need to have an Apple TV subscription.
No, you don't. I just hate
to get
that
the package. Yeah,
I hate it though.
Whatever, doesn't matter.
They're the worst. Anyway,
Culture Connection's back.
Yeah.
Average Juve enjoyer. Tell us about the rebrand.
Yeah.
Tell us what you're up to, brother.
Basically, the at is still at average Chiesa. Again, am I upset that my boy is leaving? Absolutely. But I think at the start of our season, plus the players we brought in, it's made it a lot easier to swallow. Definitely an easier pill to swallow. But yeah, I mean, it's all Juventus stuff. To be honest, a lot of people will tell you otherwise, but it's been like that for probably approximately 3 years. 90% of the tweets are Juventus or just Serie A based anyways.
Max hating.
Sorry?
Max hating.
Yeah, Max hating, but we've toned it down a little bit now. So because we finally won, we've won the long age war. But I would say that, if you guys are interested in any Serie A, a lot of Prem as well, a lot of stuff like that. Yeah, please just, swing a follow by and we can, chat. That's pretty much it.
For sure, man. One of the good guys, always interacts, always up for it. Appreciate the ball knowledge. Thank you guys both for coming on, man. Always fun. Jerry, welcome back to the podcasting world. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you so much.
Anytime, man.
Thanks for coming on, guys.
Anytime. Roma Merda.
Have Scotty hop back in.
I'm back.
What's up, bro?
Back.
Oak, shout out. Thank you for the background for this week.
Yeah, it's been a long show. You guys have
it's been a long one. So, Scotty, we can't ignore your team this week because they signed Average Chiesa's favorite player today. I know you're not so enthused about that, but big match this weekend against United. So I guess let's spend a few minutes there before we give out our top picks of the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I think, a pretty telling match for both teams right now. Liverpool looking pretty fire under Slot, going into a relatively tough fixture. Always tough playing United at Old Trafford, although I know they've had some success there in recent years. But I think with the rivalry, it's always going to be a close match regardless of where the two clubs are at. I think the thing that I'm interested in seeing is Liverpool under Slot have somehow solved their defensive issues, knock on wood. I think they're the only team right now in the Premier League with an XG expected under 1. It's like around 0.8. 2 clean sheets in 2 matches. And then you have United that's been struggling to score and convert, starting with the Community Shield and then in their last 2 matches, or the first 2 matches of the Premier League season. So I'm hopeful that, Liverpool can come in here and keep United to 1 or fewer goals. And I think if they do that, they certainly have a chance at getting points. I don't expect United keeping a clean sheet against this Liverpool team the way they're playing right now, and hopefully a win. My ideal situation is like a nice 2-0, 3-0 win. Get nice 9 points to start the season. I think that would probably put them at least into the top 3 because I believe Arsenal and Aston Villa are playing each other this weekend. Oh no, that's not this weekend. That's next weekend.
Next
it's Arsenal and Brighton. That's the other team that's in the top 4. So depending on how that game shakes out, you're looking at least top 3 with a win, maybe top 2. Flip side for United though, haven't been looking good. I think they've kind of eked out a few wins. There's some questions around Ten Hag again. Why did we keep him? And if Liverpool come in and to Old Trafford and stomp them, it's gonna get toxic pretty quick.
Yeah.
So
Scotty, here's my question for you. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting your point.
Yeah,
what's this deal with fucking Bruno starting as the 9 2 games in a row? Somebody makes sense. And I don't think Xerxes is necessarily a great target man. I think he's a strong player and a good addition to the squad. He's not your traditional center forward, but I can't figure this Bruno shit out.
No, this feels like I don't want to say a desperate move, but this feels like one of those moves where it's a manager that doesn't really have full trust in his squad, or at least the depth in the squad, and he's just trying to get his best 11 players on the pitch in some way that makes sense. But yeah, to your point, if you bring in Xerxes, why not play him? He scored your game-winning goal in the 87th minute in the opening match week, right? I think that should have earned him at least some trust. But to continue to try to play these guys out of positions and again, it's not like Rashford is undroppable in the left wing. It's not like Anthony or Amad Diallo. I mean, Amad Diallo has probably been their best player, at least in the front 4 this season. But I don't know. It's not like you have undroppable guys that you can't shift things around and try something else out, because it hasn't really been a hot start to the season for them.
Yeah, I'm looking at the lines here. I'm seeing Liverpool moneyline -115. I know they're on the road, but that to me is a pretty attractive number considering how these teams have played so far.
It is. I mean, the thing to watch out for and I was talking to you guys about this. It's a pick that I really like, but it's a little chalky. So this might be something that you do if you're looking at a couple, parlay options. Is I think under 1.5 goals in the first half is -145. Liverpool under slot so far have been a much better team in the second half. Not that they've been conceding first like they did all last season, but usually in the first half they're trying things out. I think during their opening match against Ipswich, they somehow generated like 0.1 xg in the first half, and then came in and generated like 2.3 xg in the second half, and that seems to be a pattern under slot going back to his time at Feyenoord. So I don't think Liverpool are going to come out hot, especially given the fact that they're probably going to respect United at Old Trafford no matter what. And given United's offensive struggles to start the season, I don't see them coming out, guns ablazing either. So I think the under 1.5 in this absolutely hits. It's -145, so it's a, again, not exactly a super juicy line, but you can kind of mix that in, find something else. Maybe find a team total that you like over 1.5, like an Arsenal team total or
I'll
whatever.
I'll give you like one of our go-to bets from last year. Second half, highest scoring half, -120.
Yeah.
If you think the first half goes under 2, cut 20 cents off of it.
Yeah, that's almost a lock, a surefire lock as well. So it could go either way. I mean, the only problem there is if you get a 1-goal first half and a 1-goal second half, and then you got screwed.
All right, yeah. So I think that for Liverpool, this could be a big win on the road. For United, it's maybe a get right spot against a team that is probably, I would say, a top 3 favorite at this point, Liverpool. So it'll be interesting. I know we cover a lot of the Serie A this weekend, but we didn't want to just like exclude this one because this is a big one in the Premier League, especially I think for United with Højlund out. Do they go back to that Bruno situation again? That'd be interesting. Or does Xerxes maybe get a look? But
I mean, you got to start Xerxes. It's not working right now with
Bruno. What's Darwin's status? I know we were talking about that. You said he's he joined the team obviously really late from the summer. Is he going to feature in this one?
No, I mean he probably bumped up from being last off the bench now that Chiesa's on, right? Chiesa will be the last off the bench for Liverpool in the attacking lineup. So he's kind of graduated a little bit, but I don't see him getting a whole lot of time. I don't think the way that slot is setting up, Darwin is in a tough spot because he's not exactly a guy that can hold possession well. He makes a lot of runs, but he's not always making the runs at the right time. He has 6 offsides a game, it seems. He's one of those type of players. So I think it's going to be tough for him to kind of get up to speed. They're going to lean on Jota as much as possible to play in that center position in the attacking 3. And then they'll mix in, Diaz and Gakpo and Salah for, the wing positions for now. I think Nunez will probably get some run eventually, maybe a little bit even as a winger. I could see if they want to start playing him a little bit on the wing because he did well there under Klopp when some recent or in some limited appearances, but I think it's going to take him some time, especially coming in late with Copa, dealing with the whole suspension. I think he's now been suspended 5 games in international play from his little ruckus in the Copa America in the stands. So we'll see. It'll take him some time to adapt. I don't think he's like a great player in slot system, so I think he might be one of those guys that moves on eventually. But
interesting. I mean, but listen, my hot takes on Liverpool thus far is Salah just looks like he's never fucking slowing down ever. And I think Diaz has looked good, man. Diaz has looked good so far. You're not taking him out of the lineup.
Salah always looks good in the first half of the season, and then he kind of wears down in the second half. The last 2 seasons it's been similar stories. This time there's no AFCON or World Cup or anything like that to kind of break up his season. So maybe there'll be more consistency. But the other concern is this is the last year of his contract, and don't really know what's in his mind for what he wants to do next. Does he want to re-sign? Does he want to extend with Liverpool? Does he want to go off to the Saudi league? Does he want to go off somewhere else? And so that kind of concerns me as we get closer to the January timeframe. If there's no contract resolution there, does that eventually trickle into his play on the pitch? But to your point, Diaz has been playing really well. I mean, Diaz has always looked great. He just has kind of lacked that finishing touch, and I think it comes and goes in waves with him. I will say that I think the one significant change that you can notice with him under Slot versus Klopp is he doesn't sit on the ball too long like he used to with Klopp. He used to keep the ball at his feet, dribble, maybe take 2 extra touches than it's needed. But he's much quicker at moving the ball out of his feet and getting onto the next player and then making his moves.
And coming off a good Copa America, which maybe helped his confidence coming into the season too.
Yeah, for sure.
Pretty good for Colombia, that tournament.
And it sounds like he's sticking around. I mean, I know there was like his dad has been kind of basically like pimping him out for Barcelona or PSG for the last 6 months, ever since he's been released from whatever gang that kidnapped him last year. He's been out here stirring up shit in Liverpool, talking about every other club besides Liverpool for Diaz. But it sounds like he's sticking around at least through this window. We'll see if he sticks around another year beyond that.
Too funny. Yeah, listen, I like second half as the highest scoring half in this one. I kind of Diaz. I wish the number was a little better, plus 210, but just at the form that he's on, I wouldn't put it past him to get a goal. I think that's worth a look. Mm-hmm. Anything else you guys like in this game? I do have a couple other bets in the Premier League. I just want to toss out there.
No, I was looking at we don't have card props out yet in this one, right?
No,
I don't see them. Yeah, that's the only other one that I would maybe consider, because again, it is a bit of a rivalry. Anthony.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. They're out. DeLitt to get a card plus 200. Ooh.
Does he start?
No, I don't think so.
No, he's not starting.
Casemiro plus 140. Easy.
That's
so easy.
Pretty good.
Who are you looking for in particular? Sorry, I'll give you the line.
Oh, I was wondering if there's card total, like over 4.5.
Oh, yeah, that's out. Hold on.
I don't have this.
Yeah.
This is not my book.
Are you not? You have to like not be logged in, because I'm not logged in, so it just gives you like everything. 4.5 for the game, minus 135.
Yeah, I would take that. Anthony Taylor is the referee. I think there's gonna be a lot of cards in this one, so
I can see it. I looked back to 2 times last season, double yellows for a red for United in a match.
Yeah, and dude, honestly, like if Nunez does get played, this is 100% a game where he gets a yellow, even if he's only on for 15 minutes.
I see that. All right, I got 2 others that I like in the Premier League that I want to toss out to you. Aston Villa minus 130 on the money line, away to Leicester.
Had that on the list.
Crazy. Yep. I mean, it's a very weird line.
Right. Scary.
I get the the home field pop here for Leicester, but they're not exactly like foreign to the Premier League, so I don't think it's as big as a pop that you would get from somebody that's been missing from the Premier League for 15 seasons, and each game the fans are desperate for whatever club is coming in for their blood.
And their first game was home, right? So it's like they already kind of had that. So I mean, I think if we all like that, I'm willing to put that one as like a lock for the week.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And then the other one, I just want your thoughts on it, but it caught my eye because they're due. Everton draw no bet is even money. Home to Bournemouth.
Here's my philosophy on Everton right now. If you've been betting and fading Everton since the start of the season, continue to do so. If you haven't gotten in yet, don't try, because the second you try to get in on this, it's going to flip the other way. That's how it always works with Everton. So if you have been someone that's fading them since week 1, keep doing it. You're golden. I think we kind of missed the boat a little bit, because the second I buy into like Everton being relegation fodder again, it's usually when they're
going to run off 3 in a row. Right.
Yep. So listen, if you guys want to go for it, by all means, I have to, abstain from this one. I'll give you my Premier League lock of the week. I kind of talked myself into this one. Talked about it when we were discussing Liverpool and United, but the other big match for this weekend is Arsenal versus Brighton. Both teams to score is minus 115. And I get that Arsenal has a good defense, but Brighton has looked pretty good in their first couple of matches. They think they've scored 2 or 3 goals in each of those games. So I kind of like both teams to score minus 115 in this one.
I like that. That's insanely low. I figured like that's like a minus 160 line.
It's purely because of Arsenal's defense. Like, I get it. I'm not trying to sit here and discount Arsenal's defense. Brighton is getting undervalued.
Here's my question. I think so last week we had I thought a good discussion around both of those teams, where I said both kind of need to prove it to me. Like this, show me this week what you're all about. They both did. Like decisive victories, right? Why is Brighton plus 700? I mean, like they're getting no fucking chance. No. Do you agree with that line?
Yeah, Arsenal at home, I think, are one of those teams that just are very hard to beat.
Arsenal's minus 295, City is minus 260 to West Ham, which I feel like is kind of a similar matchup.
I think it's the home road dynamic.
Yeah, 100%.
City's away.
Arsenal at home last season I don't know if they went completely invincible, but I think maybe Aston Villa was the only team that beat them at the Emirates last season. So I don't think Brighton are winning this game. Do they get a point? Maybe if they get like a lucky or one of those late goals that kind of brings them level and just stealing a point and going home. But I don't see Brighton getting 3 here.
Look, it's crazy to me. Danny Welbeck is starting forward.
Yeah, that's
wild.
Dude, and Milner starting in midfield. The dude's 36 years old.
Yeah,
it's fucking nuts.
Listen, they've looked good through 2 games. I got to give it to them.
They played in the EFL Cup yesterday against Crawley Town of all clubs, but 4 goals in that game, 2 goals against United, 3 goals against Everton. I don't think they get shut out in this one.
It's a good number. I like it.
All right,
Coach. Anything else you like in the Premier League?
No, I was gonna say let's move to Serie A because we had the group text yesterday that we really liked. Couple teams coming off pretty big wins last weekend. Torino minus 105 at Venezia in the money line. That jumped out at me right away. I know maybe they're due for a letdown after beating Atalanta, but Venezia has not shown it in 2 weeks. I just think that's a really solid number on Torino.
They're going back down. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
I think they stink.
And then Udinese minus 105 on the money line hosting Como. I know Como a little bit better result last week. I know they're a little more well built to stay up than say Venezia, but I don't know.
Hey, I was the originator in Como to go back down, so I cannot go against that pick. I have to ride with my agenda.
Yeah. We had on the list, which we also talked about during the preview, Atalanta +1 at Inter minus 135. I still like that one. I think you're going to get a push out of that. Lazio Milan, the over 2.5 we talked about minus 120. That was another one we had that we liked.
I like Milan team total goals also +120. I think they're due to break out for some goals. Lazio's defense looks terrible.
So do we want to go with the over 2.5 as one of our locks of the week, minus 120?
Yeah, I think so. I would be shocked that you don't get the 3 goals in that game.
And do we like maybe Torino as that third lock as we look for 3 locks this week?
Yeah, I can get down. I mean, I also like the Juventus team total minus 105 for 2 goals. I mean, sorry, Steve.
I will abstain, but if you guys want to do that,
Man,
just throwing it out. It doesn't need to be a lock.
I'm just like you can put Juve team total as a lock.
I'm just throwing out bets I like.
Yeah,
doesn't have to be a lock. Just talking. I mean, we spend so much time on the game. I just wanted to throw out some bets for people to have.
But to sit on the permanent record of locks, I don't know that I can.
No, hey, no Juve bets allowed. Come on, rules are rules.
Yeah.
Number one,
just throwing it out to people that are listening.
And
Juve
then
scoring 2.
I had a couple of the Bundesliga I found that I liked last night. One of them was Dortmund minus 135 on the money line at Werder Bremen.
They look good.
I think that's a really solid number and a team that's looked good in the opening match week. And then I know Union Berlin's coming off a rough season, but St. Pauli, I faded them last week with Heidenheim. Union Berlin is hosting them, and they're on the money line minus 105 at home. I thought that's a solid number. I know I wish Oaks was still on because he was the one that said St. Pauli was not losing last week at Heidenheim. Or hosting Heidenheim, actually. At home, he said they wouldn't lose. So I kind of like Union there. I know Union is not a world beater by any means, coming off a draw to open the season, but solid number at home.
Yeah, I just want to generally say we got on week 1. I said what I always say week 1, and that's to take a really long, hard look at these underdogs because they are going to perform the first month of the season. I think across the entirety of Europe, we have largely seen that. Look at Atletico Madrid today, draw 0-0 as another prime example. Obviously, we talked about Roma, only 1 point so far. Napoli, Milan, only 1 point so far. Obviously, what's going on in the Premier League, we've seen teams hot and cold. And then I went and fell into the trap with some of these games and took the trap lines of the favorite at a money line that's super playable. So just be cautious with sides early in the season. Underdogs, certainly the play on the spread. If you like favorites, kind of stick to totals. I think that's kind of the way to go early on, at least through this international break.
I think that's sound advice.
Yeah. All right. I think this is a good place to wrap then.
Hell yeah.
We thank Nick and Jerry for coming on and give us all their Serie A insight, going on some rant. Our own Nick went on a long rant of his own. I saw Nando in the comments asking about Lazio. Just rewind. Yeah,
Nando, where you at, bro? I fucking talked about him for 20 minutes, dude.
We almost had to forcibly mute Nick. He was going on such a rant over there. But we thank those guys for coming on. We thank everybody who stuck with us for the majority or all of the episode. This was one of our longer ones. Next week's international break, so we'll see how we play that one, and then we'll be back with some. I think the Arsenal Villa one is the big one after the international break. So we'll be back and ride with us, hopefully, to some winners this weekend.